Galactica Apollo, you are not going to believe what I'm looking at out here.
It's like a dream.
As a Mercury Class Battlestar, the Battlestar Pegasus represents the cutting edge of colonial engineering and the peak of the naval development in the 12 colonies prior to the fall. The Mercury Class Battlestars were brought into service long after the end of the First Cylon War. A Mercury Class Battlestar is at a length of 1,789 meters. The Mercury is a far greater size than its predecessors, such as the Jupiter-class Galactica. It has a thick armoured and sturdy frame, which is flanked by flight pods and propelled by 8 sublight engines. A Mercury class can carry a standard crew complement of over 2,500 personnel, with space to comfortably house a sizable contingent of colonial marines and a number of other passengers. Despite being larger than Jupiter class, the Mercury class requires a far smaller crew due to the heavy automation featured throughout the ship. This automation incorporates a number of network computer systems, drastically improving shipboard processing speed and electronic countermeasures, though this does represent a significant weakness if the firewall of the base door can be penetrated. The weapons of the Mercury class are comprehensive, which includes over 30 automated twin-barrel artillery turrets, 4 fixed high-yield forward gun batteries, and a number of guided missile hardpoints and ship-wide defense grid concealed beneath the plates of the ship's hull. Most of the weapons are spread across the vessel's broadside, but the most powerful individual batteries are fixed at the ship's bow. This is the reason a Mercury Class Battlestar is comfortable charging headfirst into battle to score an early decisive hit, allowing the ship to turn, bringing the bulk of its automated batteries to bear, then freeing up its point defense positions to create a defensive flak barrier. The Mercury class has an interesting feature, which is its inverted ventricle landing bays, which are stacked beneath the conventional bays on each flight pod. This enables the Mercury to house a large number of strike craft. A Mercury class Battlestar has hundreds of cutting-edge Mark 7 Vipers and dozens of Scout Raptors. The ship contains on-board foundries and processing facilities that allow the ship to construct replacement strike craft and other useful equipment using raw materials harvested from natural sources such as asteroid belts. This dramatically improves the ability of a Mercury class vessel to operate by itself for large periods of time. It is also very useful in supporting additional Battlestars who do not have the same capacity.
How did you avoid the initial Cylon attack on the colonies? I'll have another if you don't mind.
Shortly before the fall of the 12 colonies, the Pegasus had been docked for a refit at the shipyards at Scorpio. Its command navigation program was down during the refit, when the attack began on the shipyards, and other Battlestars were being destroyed. Admiral Kane ordered the decoupling of the vessel, as well as the execution of a blind jump to get them out of immediate danger, despite the possibility of the unknown jump location. After the initial escape, Kane completed a review of the current status. The Pegasus had left a large part of its crew behind, as many of the crew had left on shore leave for 3 months, and many had died in the attack on the craft, but they'd also suffered damage to the onboard craft. It did not take long to get confirmation of the destruction of the 12 colonies. With this in mind, Kane ordered a reconnaissance of the system to identify Cylon targets. Kane believed in the policy, the best defense is a good offense. Kane was unrelenting and often cruel in her command. In one particular instance, Kane was willing to execute her XO, who had been a close friend for several years. Eventually, the Pegasus would detect a small refugee flotilla of civilian craft. In contrast to Dharma-style command, Kane saw the civilian flotilla as a burden, and their parts would be better served as part of the Pegasus. The useful parts were taken, and select individuals were conscripted into service to replenish the crew of the Pegasus. After a period of time, the Pegasus would discover the Galactica and its civilian crew, as it had been looking to ambush a convoy of Cylon ships. While their initial rendezvous resulted in much jubilation, morale quickly soured as the stark contrast between the leadership styles of Commander Adama and Admiral Kane became clear. As their superior officer, Kane gained command of the colonial fleet and immediately began to neglect maintenance of civilian ships in favour of resupplying the Galactica. Because of Commander Adama's more forgiving leadership style, Kane began to make personal changes on the Galactica and started to integrate the crews, resulting in rising hostilities. More problems would arise after the discovery of the brutal tactics deployed by the Pegasus crew towards Cylon prisoners. There would be a death of a Pegasus officer by Galactica crew members relating to the torture of the Cylon prisoner Athena. This would spark a tense standoff between the two Battlestars. However, a sudden discovery of a Cylon resurrection ship would lead to a temporary truce. After the resurrection ship was destroyed, Admiral Kane was assassinated by an escaped Cylon prisoner as retribution for torture she endured. Kane and Adama had been planning assassination attempts on each other, but had paused at the last moment. It is possible that if Kane had lived for longer, she would have removed Adama and continued her practice towards the civilian fleet, which she had shown previously. In the aftermath of Kane's death, Adama was promoted to Admiral by President Roslin, and Colonel Fisk was promoted to Commander in charge of the Pegasus. While Fisk had been an able second command to Kane, with his more jovial style, a contrast to Kane's, his own attempt at command was short-lived, as he became heavily involved in the black market, which would lead to his murder by rival black marketeers. The fact that the black marketeers were able to get access to the commander shows the corruption that had spread throughout the Pegasus. Fisk's replacement, Chief Engineer Barry Gardner, would bring more discipline, but he would also be plagued by paranoid tendencies that would frighten the crew of the Pegasus. Garner would also struggle as he was more fixated on processing, working to clockwork similar to how he had operated in engineering. Garner would be tricked into jumping into a silent ambush after multiple Raptor crews went missing. Garner was ordered by Admiral Adama not to jump to search for the crews. Garner's paranoia, coupled with Lee Adama being assigned to the Pegasus, appeared to have driven Garner into this direction. During the ambush, the Pegasus was struck by multiple base stars, but was able to withstand the assault. But during the battle, Commander Garner passed away while completing repairs to the FDL engines. After the Pegasus returned to the fleet, Major Lee Adama was promoted to the rank of commander. Eventually the fleet discovered a habitable world, which then they colonized, calling New Caprica. The Pegasus and Galactica were then reduced to skeleton crews, as much of the fleet had wanted to get off their ships and to settle on the newly discovered planet. The planet sat within a stellar cloud, which made it difficult to detect on Dradus, which led the colonials to hope that the Cylons would not be able to locate them. Despite this, 1 year later, the colony was discovered by the Cylons, forcing the fleet to jump away. With a skeleton crew on both ships, they were in no position to defend the planet from the Cylon attack. In the months following their departure, a retraining initiative took place as a rescue plan was formulated. Members of the Pegasus crew then transferred to Galactica to help with the plan and to make the vessel operational. After the Galactica's successful execution of a dangerous maneuver in New Caprica's atmosphere, it had jumped back into space, where it was engaged with multiple Cylon base stars. With the Galactica nearing destruction and its FDL engines offline, the Pegasus jumped into the fight, striking the Cylons in the rear. Though while the initial plan was for the Pegasus to wait 18 hours before continuing the search for Earth, the Pegasus had left its Viper contingent behind to guard the civilian fleet. In its effort to rescue the Galactica, it was able to quickly destroy a base star, but without the personnel needed to fully operate the vessel and to put up a proper fight. It was a one-way trip for the Battlestar. The Pegasus was then put on a collision course with its computer-automated weapons fire. The diversion caused by the Pegasus' arrival enabled the Galactica to get its FDL drives online, rescue its fighters and escape, while the remaining crew of the Pegasus then abandoned the vessel in a handful of Raptors moments before it collided with another base star. This maneuver resulted in the destruction of the Pegasus, leaving the Galactica as the sole Battlestar left to defend the colonial fleet. The sacrifice of the Pegasus was a significant blow to the colonial forces, though this sacrifice of the vessel would play a major role in helping the survivors of the 12 colonies to escape the Cylon threat and continue the search for a new home. Thanks for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe. We'll be covering lots of other science fiction topics, from Battlestar Galactica, Dune, Mass Effect, and plenty more. Thank you.